Our next guest, however, I have the honor of introducing a member of the Estonian Riigikogu. Now, the topic today is bridging borders, and she likes to talk about family life, corruption, and culture. Now, these are topics that I hope are not bridged together. I hope that there is a very big divide between these topics, specifically corruption and culture. But let me give the floor to our next guest, Liisa Pakosta.
Thank you. I will have the pleasure to skip corruption this time, and I will use this as a real sunny vacation from the election campaign from the city of Tallinn. So I will really concentrate only on the general law issues, and as usually politicians are giving very optimistic speeches, everything is going better, 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 and we know how to do it. Then this time I take another angle, so excuse me for being a little bit maybe pessimistic, but let's hope there is still a way to go, and let's hope someone knows how to get there. If anyone has seen the film No, then I will begin with the same sentence that we are working in the social circumstances of present day, which are a little bit different as they were during the days that our grandmas and grandpas were active. The average usage of time in family life and work life is actually very much different than it was. Approximately it took for one load of washing just some generations ago an average of 4 hours. Today, when you sort it right and you use these capsules of washing powder, you can't use more than 4 minutes for your washing load. This picture on your left side with the small girl and boy, it's not Estonian one, but as I did my master's degree paper at Tartu University on the history of child raising in Estonia, then I studied the materials from the Estonian National Museum archives, and the average age for kids starting actually working was in Estonia 4 years. And as we could see from this international painting, I can't remember the painter, sorry, but it is the general in all of Europe. Actually, watching for smaller siblings and entertaining or walking with the geese was a typical first work to be done for the most of the countries. Nowadays, we are having this unemployed youth problem. I will meet the people from European Commission day after tomorrow, just sitting and discussing this issue, whether the age limit for governments to pay extra subsidies for young people who haven't found work should be 24 years as it is proposed now, or maybe should it be 30 years. So if you haven't found work and you are still not 30 years old, maybe you should get subsidies from the government before you find your first working place. If I remember, so this is the sentence my kids hate. If I remember my years of childhood, yeah, we had to paint the floors, we had to wash the dishes, we had to work at the countryside, and we used a month each September to pick the potatoes. Nowadays, it differs a little bit from country to country in the European Union. the average time young people are using for the homework tends to be around 20 minutes, plus minus 5 minutes. And actually it's not much more for the grown-up men. It's a little bit longer time for the grown-up women, but still it's much less than it was years ago. So it has changed dramatically, and it's not much to do actually for the young people or even for the grown-ups when you get home after your work, if you have used these 4 minutes for switching on your washing machine and maybe some more minutes to switch on your dishwashing machine. So what do you do with the rest of your time? Here is where the politicians come in. They try to organize your use of time in all the countries. Actually, if we look on the laws or the laws coming to Estonian parliament, it doesn't differ very much from all the other parliaments in the democratic world. Most of the laws coming in are in one or another way organizing the time you have gained from the technological revolution or whatever it's called. We have a huge row of all kinds of regulations. The question is how they actually regulate your life. I start with examples which are not connected to family life, and I start with these examples only due to the fact that these are maybe more easily understandable. So I try to get you involved in the process of analyzing what actually is the result of one or another regulation. For example, there is a regulation for road ditches. Maybe you have noticed that if one builds new roads in Estonia, then the new ditches next to the road are rather deep. They are called EuroDitches by the drivers. Actually, the regulation does not come from Brussels, it's a local one. And it's meant to gather all the rainwater from the roads to keep the actual building of the road in a healthy condition. For a pity, this healthy condition of the road is not very healthy if you happen to fall or drive with your car into the ditch. So, especially during the winter time when the road is icy and the driver may be fully sober, following the speed limit and so on and so forth, but if the car goes into the ditch, the damage is much bigger than it usually could be. Of course, it sounds a very good regulation that tobacco and alcohol damage your health. The society pays for the medicine, and there should be higher and higher taxes on alcoholic beverages and tobacco. Very easy regulations. Actually, in reality, every time these taxes are raised, then the state budget income is going down due to the fact that the number of the illegal, this is a truck bottom, the number of and this is police there, yeah, the photo from the newspaper, because each time the taxes rise, the number of the illegal alcohol and tobacco also rises. So the actual result is that the state budget gets less money. Or the third example, which is actually tricky, and I haven't met anyone, maybe there is a mathematician in the room who can answer it, but in all the European Union countries, the speed limit for the road and the maximum speed limit for passing on the road is the same. So you are not allowed to pass another car with a higher speed than is the speed limit for the car that you are passing. So this doesn't have very dramatic results because no one is following this regulation in none of the countries, but just as an example. But now let's get to the point or the topic, which is the heading of my presentation. The world is not black and white, and it's very hard to organize people's lives with the regulations because either they do not work in the way as they were meant to be working, or maybe they are regulating not the right things. And not very much discussed is the area that we actually spend most of our times with, is the family life and the working life. Doesn't it look like cute? The Estonian text says that nursing your babies at least half a year, but better 2 years, is good for the babies. And it is good. It's a very nice procedure to do. I have been nursing babies for at least 5 years, and it's one of the most lovely things in my life, absolutely. But then we have a regulation. We have a regulation that you should take a parental leave for 1.5 years, and because you are nursing your baby, you are not allowed to work at the same time. So I haven't met actually a mother who could spend all the time during 1.5 years with the baby or nursing the baby. Even more, actually the studies show that the more mothers can combine work and babies, the more happy mothers they are, the more healthier the babies are, the less stressed the mothers are, and there is more births per woman. So this is one example of the regulation that tries to organize in a very huge way the way families live with their kids. But the actual result is that I don't know actually anyone among my friends who has actually in reality skipped working for 1.5 years. And if we go back, then of course this regulation maybe comes from the idea that all the women, they stayed home. They were working home. They did something at home. So why can't they be at home 1.5 years nowadays? But look again, you don't see a baby here. And if you think a little bit, you don't see a baby here because the women are at riverside. It's dangerous for the baby. Maybe the baby is sleeping somewhere backwards. There's a folk songs in all the countries talking about babies taking with the mothers to their working places, ema viis hälli heinamaale, and so on. Now we get to a even more serious problem, because it's very easy to actually to work even if the state has told you that you should stay home and not work. Just look your 4 hours of television, which is the average. But is this really the picture when we are talking about children working in Europe nowadays? It's taken from the turn of the century, from somewhere from Great Britain. No, it is not. Approximately a year ago, the evening newspaper Õhtuleht, which, sorry, but very seldomly writes articles I love, but they wrote an article where they questioned the members of Estonian Parliament about what was the work they were doing as the first paid work in their life. And then they asked, what's it called in English, the tööohutusinspector, the working safety inspector, to comment these working places. This inspector didn't know whose working places he is or she is commenting. So it occurred actually that all the works that today's Parliament members did at their childhood are totally banned nowadays for the kids, because they are either dangerous for the health, mental being, or whatever else it could be. Still, even I feel quite healthy, although my first working place was a dishwasher at a children's camp, working with dangerous machines, dangerous chemicals, and too long working days. Too long. So now we get back to this picture. Actually, when we discussed in Parliament the new law for the vocational schools, the leaders of the vocational schools who came to the Parliament discussions said that actually the biggest problem is that when a young person goes to a vocational school and is going there after the grown school, so he or she is under 18 years of age, they have a right to study the work, but they do not have a right to practice it because it's too dangerous. So I think we are overreacting in all European Union countries to this picture, which is not real. The real result is I have 5 kids. It's really impossible to find a working place for them during summertime, which is meeting all the regulations that we have set, both from Brussels and Estonia. All these regulations are, of course, very cute. It's practically impossible to start a discussion that we should ease the regulation for child work in Estonia or in European Union. You can imagine very easily what is the public response. We have tried it in Parliament. This picture is taken out very quickly. But I talk in English language because it's not my first language, always much quicker than in Estonian, because I don't know so many words in English language. So I'm afraid I have been a little bit doing it in a more quick way than I should, but then I hope for more questions, and you can, of course, question all the areas that you're interested in. This is actually the final and main slide in my presentation. All these cute regulations are actually having huge impact on not so small issues. They are hindering the normal combination of child raising and working. During all the million or milliard of years that humankind has been in this world, there has never ever been such a situation that one mother and one child are basically locked in an apartment by themselves for 1.5 years or whatever is the period, with the only responsibility to switch on the washing machine and look after the baby. The number of depressed mothers is rising. And then very many women are choosing another option, not to be locked in that way. Leaving kids and youth without habits of organizing and working. I'm also a member of European Union Affairs Committee in the Parliament, and this summer the European Union ministers had a special meeting, ministers responsible for working issues had a special meetings on youth unemployment issues. The general line for all the countries was that there are basically two major problems. The first major problem is that young people do not have the habit of working. They do not have the habit to stand up in the morning, put on a clean shirt and just go to work. And the second problem is also the same for all European Union countries, that young people have very high expectations on salary and working conditions. There could be, if we watch on these problems, there could be two possible solvings. And one could be that we rise the salaries for young people. This is not possible by the entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs pay for the working input that might not be so high when you are just having your first working place. So in many countries, the extra state subsidies are under discussion, that if young people are not ready to go to work for this and this salary as their first working place, then maybe states should give extra subsidies for the entrepreneurs to pay higher salaries for young people in order to keep them working on their first working place. This can't last long. The other option is that we should change something in education. But I mentioned the problem of the vocational schools in Estonia. You can make many changes in your education, but generally the main working habits are ready for a child, as the teachers say, or those who study children say, when kids are approximately 10, 12 years old. Then they have already their main habits ready. These cute regulations very clearly obstruct the natural growth of population. The more regulated the life is, the heavier it's actually to become a mother or father. I have skipped most of the regulations because otherwise it wouldn't be realistic to raise 5 kids. And I'm still arguing with my kindergarten teacher that yes, my 11-year-old son is capable to go and gather my 5-year-old daughter from the kindergarten, because he is capable to do it, although the regulations say that he's not allowed to. But please understand, when you have 5 kids and you are a full-time working mother, it's not easy every evening at this particular time to be in the kindergarten. So please don't make a newspaper article now from this that Liisa Pakosta is doing all these bad things with her kids. These cute regulations are actually very heavily deepening the gender gap. When just this one example, when you are at home with your kid these 1.5 years and not working, you will lose very much of your professionality. You will also lose very much of your career possibilities. And, which is most important, you don't have any biological, sociological, educational, medical or whatever reason to stay at home for such a long time. There is a lot of studies also in Estonia, for example, made by Praxis, who very clearly show that these regulations, which sound very cute, are actually deepening the gender gap much more than any other issues. These cute regulations are leaving distribution of resources unfair in comparison with costs and effects. If we take, this is also general for the whole European Union actually. If we take this picture of baby, in most of the countries, these cute babies get the most of the money. But of course, if the child is at age of, let's say, 12 to 18, he or she is also cute, but not so cute maybe. And the resources given by the states and the local governments are much, much smaller. But the costs for the parents, for the families, are much, much higher. These cute regulations are not responding to the real changes in family life. Now we get back to these things. We are still, or the thinking of the background of these regulations is very much back in these years. So, I do see hope. How to solve this problem? There's actually one regulations that politicians in most of the countries do not follow. In all the countries there is regulations how you should prepare laws. And for example, in Estonia, the first point is that in all the regulations, in all the laws, you should, as the first point, analyze the impact of this law or regulation to the demographic situation, to the way people are living their family life and combining their family life to the working life. I actually haven't seen, during all these years, regulations which actually analyze this. And the same is in all the countries, even in the Nordic countries. Because it's so easy to get uncute with these analyses, it's a regulation that none of the parliaments fulfills. So maybe just to start fulfilling it, this regulation helps the situation getting better. But this was my irritation to you. Please, all the questions. The questions do not have to be connected directly to this speech. So if you have any other subjects of interest, I'm very happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liisa. Are there any questions that anyone would like to ask? Yes.
How will you explain this phenomena that if you take individuals, smart individuals, and we put them into one room, in one body, for example, parliament, we get the stupid body?
I do not agree with your question, but I agree with your right to put this question forward. The average, let's start from the comparison. I have a very cute husband indeed, but in many questions we have different viewpoints. For example, I like one wallpaper and he likes totally another wallpaper, which I hate. So in the end, we agree on paint the wall. So this is basically the way the democratic decision-making process is built up. There are different viewpoints, and it's very hard to find something that everyone agrees on. So in the result, no one is very happy, but everyone's viewpoint is taken into account. I think it's still better even if the result is stupid, or it might sound stupid. It's much better than a dictatorship when one person comes and says, we do it in this way, and no one has a viewpoint to add. But if you if you have one viewpoint and another viewpoint, and both of them are right to some extent, the world is not black and white, then the area where the 2 or 3 or 4 of those agree on might not be the best result in the practice, but it's something everyone has agreed on. Was this the answer?
Not exactly, but
So you disagreed with the question, but you agree that that was not the answer.
I may make another try.
Now, are there any other questions? Yes.
Could we see the picture of the child workers once more? Yeah, I noticed one on the left, I think, is smiling. So,
Yeah.
so my question is, has there been any real studies to compare the effects of children who have worked as a child and those who haven't, like, later in their life? Because the bottom line I got from this talk was that we're missing a bridge between the present and the past and the present and the future. Just look what's cute at the moment and we hope that it works.
Yeah, I'm missing the possibilities to live a normal life, but or the regulations that that help us to live a normal life. Yeah, there are a lot of studies that show that kids feel better if they really can do something where they see a result of their work. Kids are happy to earn themselves a kind of money. And if we compare, there is also a clear link between the tootlikkus inglise keeles on productivity and the time kids start actually working. For example, in Nordic countries, the ground school level pupils actually work for money much more than in Estonia, and the difference is very much higher if we look at the secondary school level pupil. Then in Nordic countries, the working time each week for doing paid work for the secondary school level pupil is much longer or bigger than in Estonia. And as we know, the productivity also in Nordic countries is much higher. So you actually, it's not enough when you study at school mathematics, languages. You actually should also learn the habit and from much younger age to how you organize yourself, how you organize your work, even if it's looking after geese or younger siblings or whatever. You should learn this habit.
So maybe it's a good idea to lower the subsidies age limit.
Yeah.
Only if you go to work at the age of 19 or 18, then you will get the subsidies, not later.
I actually don't think we need so many regulations for kids' work. I don't. They are to protect kids from that kind of work. Yeah, the child mortality rate has gone down. Yeah, it's much more. It happens much more often that a child gets killed in a car accident or traffic accident than doing a kind of paid work, but we have exaggerated very much. The pendulum is in the other side.
Okay, are there any more questions? All right, Liisa, thank you very much. I have 2 children myself, and they're both under the age of 10, and I'm very happy to say that they provide more than 50% of my family's income. So I'm all for lowering these use of regulations. I'm joking, of course.